Hi, Denny Johnson again, and this is the continuation of a study of the family tree and the body signs or body language of the birth order positions in the family and how they affect well-being, happiness, and health, and so on. Basically, this started out with the Rayid being about the iris of the eye. The iris has also a particular type of constitution in it. This constitution of the iris is modified by the birth order dynamics of the person's position in the family tree. The first girl has a body type, the second girl has a different body type, and so on. And there are 6 different basic body types, many combinations thereof. But these 6 different body types that we discussed last time, they flow in natural sets, meaning that the number 1 girl, 3 girl, and 5 girl, they have the more yang or bigger body types. The second girl, the 4th girl, and the 6th girl, they have more angular or more thin body types. The same thing is true on an opposite scale about the 6 brothers. They have also different body types, and they also operate in somewhat of a binary code, meaning that number 1, number 3, number 5 boy, they have more of the angular body type and usually thinner. The number 2 boy, the number 4 boy, and the number 6 boy, they have bigger body types, sometimes bigger in the hips and the belly or the chest or the head. These are predictable long-term body types according to the position in the family tree. The iris, the birth order position, they combine together, and this usually reflects into a specific type of energy that they have in their body. For example, all of the ones in red, which is essentially all of the birth order patterns from the father's side of the family, which means a genetic orientation to a natural tendency to link to the father's family. That means girl number 1, boy number 2, girl number 3, and so on. They link to the father's family, and they usually accentuate the yang side of their own energy. And what does that mean? It means that they have a tendency for more fire in the body, more fire socially, more dynamic, a greater desire to go into the world, to be interfaced, to be prosperous, to be part of a social network. This is a social dynamics. The descending one, there are 2 cycles on this yang side. The descending one is usually a body-aware thinking type, a grounded, solid home situation, serving the public, caring for, nurturing other people, having compassion for animals and nature, and so on. There are specific personality patterns. Now, part of the benefit of this is by combining the iris and the birth order, you also get a very good idea about their natural passion. You can help them identify what their long-term creative skills might be that would accentuate their natural ability to be in the world as a soul. Nice thing to be able to support someone. Now, the yang side is very different from the yin side, and they have different body types and different long-term interests. The yin types have a natural tendency usually to like to be alone more in some form. They're dealing with their creativity, their imagination, their artistic work, their discovery work. They like to find the truth about things. They like to explore other realities, both seen and unseen. They like to communicate. They like to teach in some form. They like to help groups. There's lots of different things about this type. Very different from the yang type. We have all of these happening inside of us all the time. And when these 4 energies are circulating well, then generally speaking, our life works much better. But sometimes there is an imbalance. Well, quite frankly, everybody has some form of imbalance because these 4 different life force circulations, they are related to different lines of the family tree. And when there are unresolved emotional patterns coming through the family tree that are handed down to us genetically in the DNA or in the molecules that sometimes are called the epigenetic molecules or tags, these patterns come down to the family tree and they cause disturbances in this flow. The disturbance in this flow produces typical body signs. Beyond just the body type recognition of the characteristic pattern that somebody has, there's also the body signs that show how are they handling it. For example, one of the ones I use quite commonly is the eyes. Not just the iris of the eye, but I look at which eyelid is more closed. If somebody's left eyelid droops more, that means they're cutting off the mother's side of the family, and they have a tendency to go more toward the yang energies. If somebody's cutting off their right eye or their father's family, they have a tendency to become more yin. So there are yang-oriented symptoms and diseases, there are yin-oriented symptoms and diseases, and these are now reflected in all of the different conditions of the body. One of the ones I use quite commonly is the half moons at the base of the thumbnail. Very useful. By the way, it works on all the continents I've been to. If you look at your half moons, put your thumbs side by side and look at which one of the thumbs is more peaked or more narrow. Yeah, sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. When it's not there, I just ignore it. It tells me other things about the life force capacity and so on. But generally speaking, if the right thumb has a higher peak or a higher, wider, it's more narrow at the peak, then that means there's a correspondence to the yang side of the family. Generally means cutting off the mother's side of the family, and so on. If the left half moon is more peaked, it's more yin, it's more right brain, more feminine, and so on. By being able to go through this, whether it's the eyes, and later I'll be able to take you through an experience of the hands and the skin, but I use the thumbs and the eyes nearly every time. So what are we looking for when we do this? Basically, I'm combining this with the iris and the birth order to say, where are you on this scale? How can I help you find something that is really aligned to your natural ability, but also help you recognize that there are unresolved feeling or emotional issues that are causing you interior frustration, damage, or loss? So that's how I use this to be able to determine how can we guide somebody into this process. To understand these four forces is at the very foundation of everything I do with Rayid. Everything is about these four forces. There are four primary iris types. They break down into somewhat of a thinking type, to an emotional type, to a body aware type, to a dynamic moving type. These are the four constitutions. Now these four different energies, they also relate to the 4 seasons of the year. They also relate to 4 cycles of maturation. Between the ages of 0 and 64, there are 4 primary seasons. So by understanding these 4 and how they interface into the body, it helps us to be able to guide a person not only to their natural career abilities, but also how to be able to accentuate or become more self-balanced. Anytime there is a long-term or chronic condition, I ask myself, is this a yang imbalance or a yin imbalance? Yes, there are Ayurvedic medicines and natural remedies of all forms, biochemical, vibrational, that are about balancing these. But every one of them is composed of unresolved feelings in the family tree. We can do many things to change the biochemical for the fire or the cooling, the heating or the cooling mechanisms of the body. But really, underneath it all is a series of lessons and feelings. To be more responsible about this, it's not just changing the diet from yin to yang or back again. It's not just exercise or focus or meditation or visualization. It's about how to be able to become self-responsible in these 4 different categories. These are attributes of the soul. There are wonderful things involved in each one of these 4. For example, on the ascending yang, it's joy, laughter, play, celebration, prosperity, romance. These are things everybody likes. On the descending yang, it's about vitality and health and stability, service and wisdom, whole wonderful things here, including compassion. On the yin side, it's humility and truth and free will. Very important things about the discovery of the reality of the world. The descending yin, it's about feelings. It's about non-judgment. It's about receiving love. It's about being open to ultimate spiritual development. These four different forces are at the very heart of everything we do, and they have a lot to do with why we are here as people. By being able to use the iris, the original genetic body type and its correspondence now depending on its yin-yang polarities, to add in the thumbs and the face and the hands, it just guides a little more to where we're really intended to be. At the heart of all this, it's about spiritual growth. Being able to become self-responsible without becoming self-dependent on anyone else or self-reliant only on oneself. Because ultimately it's about how to be able to allow divine love to enter our own souls so that we may be able to feel all of this in higher and higher levels. Well, this is part 2 of the body signs and the body language. Have a good day.